This is our story of buying a 39-foot sailing catamaran, Anna, in South Florida, and our 17 days on the Intracoastal Waterway, bringing her up to the Chesapeake Bay. Jim and I had prepared for this journey by reading sailing books. We also hired a delivery training captain who was certified to teach sailing by the American Sailing Association. The manuals were valuable, the instructor was not, but more on that later. Each morning, I would wake around 6 to care for the dogs and take photographs of the sunrise and other pictures that you are seeing in this video. We left our Hallandale Beach dock at 10 a.m. on March 30th, 2019. After exiting Port Everglades into the Atlantic, the captain unfurled the sails and we headed north. The captain probably thought that we didn't much like to sail at that point, but the truth was we had quickly lost confidence in his ability to sail our boat. We had a nice breeze off the starboard beam, but our captain kept both engines running all day and made no effort to trim the sails, even asking us novices for advice on how to adjust them. So we stayed on the ICW. On the morning of April 4th, we weighed anchor in a quiet spot where we had spent the night off St. Mary's Inlet in Georgia. We were a little annoyed when the Coast Guard temporarily prevented us from leaving our anchorage. We spent the delay chatting with another boat couple, and then we were astonished to see a U.S. Navy submarine steaming past. That was pretty cool. They let us leave after that. Our mooring in Charleston Harbor that night was choppy, but it gave us a view of both Fort Sumter and the retired aircraft carrier USS Yorktown. Since each day was costing us $300 in captain fees, we didn't make unnecessary stops, but every 3 days or so we needed groceries. We made stops in Daytona, Hilton Head, and again in Carolina Beach for provisions and laundry. I would call Lyft for a ride to the stores and back, and the drivers we met were always interesting. Jim and I had spent so many family vacations on Ocean Isle Beach in North Carolina. On the day we passed through OIB, there was a thick fog over the island that prevented us from seeing the OIB Fishing Center, Sharky's, and the Inlet View restaurant. We were a little disappointed. At the end of day 12, we dropped anchor near the Allegheny River, Pungo River Canal. It was a quiet, calm night until the fighter jets began screaming through the night sky. We didn't mind though, it was kind of neat. Our captain would get up early about the same time as me, and after his breakfast he would start the engines. Jim would be up by then to help him pull anchor, and the captain would take the first shift at the helm. The three of us would then take turns at 2 to 3 hour shifts throughout the day. After dinner, we would look for a calm anchorage so that we could be out of the channel by nightfall. These were long days, but Jim and I settled into a routine, and like the dogs, we adjusted to our boat life. One afternoon along the ICW in North Carolina, with Captain Derek Cohen at the helm, we hit a submerged concrete obstruction on the starboard side. We went from 8 knots to a dead stop, and the boat pitched forward violently, raising the stern out of the water, before settling back down. Dishes and cookware went flying, but there were no injuries. Jim checked the starboard bilge, and there was no water, thankfully. The captain explained to us that he had seen the submerged concrete wall on the chart, but he had moved over to allow another boat to pass. He never apologized for this hard hit, and 2 weeks later, when we hauled Anna out of the water, we were brokenhearted to see over $5,500 in damage to the starboard keel. Captain Derek Cohen refused our insurance company's request to provide his insurance information and lied about the incident, telling our sales agent that I was the one at the helm at the time of this accident. Unfortunately, this is the shameful character of Captain Derek Cohen of Miami, Florida. So after 2 weeks on the ICW, we offloaded our captain at the fuel dock in Norfolk, Virginia. but we still had to get ourselves up to our home marina in the northern Chesapeake. As we entered the Chesapeake Bay at Norfolk, the wind was gusting to 30 knots, and waves were up over the bow and hitting me in the face. Jim took over, and after 6 hours crossing the bay, we turned into Cape Charles, Virginia to spend the night at the city dock. After what we had just gone through, I found it oddly funny that the U.S. Coast Guard followed us in for a courtesy check. For 2 weeks, we had followed dotted lines on our navigation screen that indicated the path of the ICW. But the ICW ends at Norfolk, and now we were charting our own course through the bay. Motoring north, we found an anchorage off the Potomac River. While entering and leaving the anchorage, we had to dodge thousands of crab pots. The next morning seemed nice as we pulled up anchor at 7 a.m., but as we returned to the bay, we found ourselves in a dense fog that did not clear until 2 p.m. I mostly served as lookout on the bow, while Jim kept an eye on the radar at the helm. Day 17, the final day, started out calm at our anchorage outside of Annapolis, Maryland. But this was truly to be an awful day. I had not taken any Dramamine, and it is too late to take a pill once you become sick. Strong westerly winds hit us on the port beam, causing a sickening side-to-side rocking. I stayed in the cabin for 6 hours, moving only to the bathroom and to add waypoints for Jim to follow at the helm. I heard on Channel 16 that another sailboat had to be rescued after it lost its rigging. I was so happy to see the Sassafras River. Not only were we now only 8 miles from our home marina, but as we progressed further inland, the wind was less intense. Later, we learned that the storm had toppled many trees in the area. They say that all's well that ends well. This was the trip of a lifetime, but if we were to make this passage again, we would make a point of spending more time in the interesting places along the way, including Wilmington, Oriental, and Norfolk. During these 17 days, we discovered things on the boat that didn't work. The salesman had advertised a pristinely maintained boat. However, neither the heating system nor sonar worked, and there were no maintenance records to be found. Jim has removed the bubble graphics that came with Anna and polished her hull, and we added sleek new striping. Anna's keel has been repaired, and we have a list of upgrades for Anna that will make her even better.